The phone slipped from my fingers, hitting the kitchen counter with a dull thud. 3 years of marriage, and I'd never once checked Ben's messages. Until today. Until that notification lit up his screen while he was in the shower. Can't wait for tomorrow? Same place, same time? I'm Sarah. Up until 5 minutes ago, I thought I knew exactly who I was. Marketing executive, new mother, devoted wife. Funny how a single text can make you question everything. The shower was still running upstairs. I could hear Ben humming, probably that irritating jazz tune he'd been obsessed with lately. My hands trembled as I picked up his phone again, my thumb hovering over the message preview. Sarah? Ben's voice echoed from upstairs. Have you seen my blue tie? Check the laundry basket, I called back, my voice steadier than I felt. The message taunted me, its blue bubble a portal to a truth I wasn't sure I wanted to know. I pressed my finger against the home button. Locked. Of course it was locked. But the preview was still there, along with earlier message snippets from the same R. Late meeting tonight. Miss you already? That was incredible. My stomach churned. The baby monitor crackled with Jamie's soft breathing, reminding me of everything at stake. 3 months old, and already his world might be crumbling. Footsteps on the stairs. I placed the phone exactly where I'd found it, grabbed a coffee mug, and tried to look busy. Ben appeared in the doorway, hair still damp, that stupid blue tie hanging loose around his neck. Found it in the dryer, he said, flashing that smile that used to make my heart skip. Now it just made me want to throw up. You're home late tonight? I asked, careful to keep my tone casual. He paused, just for a fraction of a second. If I hadn't been watching for it, I might have missed it. Yeah, big presentation tomorrow. Probably won't wrap up until 8 or 9. Liar. I could bring you dinner at the office, I suggested, watching his face. Jamie's been sleeping better. We could make it a surprise. No. He said it too quickly, then softened his voice. I mean, don't trouble yourself. It'll be boring, just me and the blueprints. And R. Whoever R was. Right, I said, taking a sip of coffee I didn't want. Wouldn't want to disturb your concentration. Ben grabbed his phone, checking it briefly before sliding it into his pocket. If he noticed anything amiss, he didn't show it. He kissed my cheek, a quick, distracted peck, and headed for the door. Love you, he called over his shoulder. Love you too, I replied automatically, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. The front door clicked shut. I waited until I heard his car start, then pulled out my own phone. My hands were steady now as I scrolled through my contacts, stopping at Emily's name. My best friend since college, now a corporate lawyer, with a talent for digging up dirt. The baby monitor crackled again. Upstairs, Jamie would be waking soon, demanding his morning feed. My beautiful boy, who had his father's eyes and my stubborn chin, who deserved better than a father who could look his wife in the face and lie without flinching. I hit dial. Em, I need your help with something. I paused, gathering my thoughts. What do you know about hiring a private investigator? The words hung in the air, making everything real. There would be no going back from this moment. But then, Ben had already made that choice for both of us, hadn't he? IR might have tomorrow, but I had today. And I was going to use it to tear Ben's carefully constructed lies apart, piece by piece, until nothing remained but the truth. Emily's office always smelled like leather and ambition. I sat across from her desk, watching her scroll through the private investigator's website on her laptop while Jamie dozed in his carrier beside me. Marcus Chen, former FBI, 20 years experience, specializes in infidelity cases. She looked up at me. Are you absolutely sure about this, Sarah? I twisted my wedding ring, the diamond catching the afternoon light. You should have seen Ben's face this morning when I suggested bringing dinner to his office, like I'd threatened to set his blueprints on fire. That doesn't necessarily mean 3 years, Em. 3 years, and he's never once changed his phone password. Now suddenly it's locked. My voice cracked. And those messages. Emily closed her laptop with a sharp click. Have you talked to Nancy and Tom about any of this? God, no. The thought of telling Ben's parents made my stomach turn. Nancy's been so wonderful since Jamie was born. She brings casseroles twice a week, helps with the laundry. And Tom? I swallowed hard. He'd probably arrest Ben on principle. Or shoot him, Emily muttered. She'd never quite warmed to my father-in-law's rigid moral code. Speaking of the devil, my phone buzzed. Nancy's name lit up the screen. Sarah, dear. Tom and I were thinking of stopping by for dinner tonight. I've made that lasagna you love. My throat tightened. Tonight? Ben's working late. Again? There was something in Nancy's tone. Concern? Suspicion? That's the third time this week. Big project, I said automatically, the lie bitter on my tongue. But please come. Jamie would love to see his grandparents. After hanging up, I caught Emily's knowing look. What? Nancy's not stupid, Sarah. She raised Ben. If she's noticing something's off, then I need to be more careful. I stood up, gathering Jamie's diaper bag. Can you set up a meeting with this Marcus person? Emily nodded slowly. Just promise me you'll think about what you want to do with whatever he finds. Revenge might feel good in the moment, but this isn't about revenge. But even as I said it, I could feel something dark and hungry unfurling in my chest. It's about truth, about justice. Same thing sometimes, Emily said softly. That evening, Nancy's lasagna sat heavy in my stomach as I watched her and Tom with Jamie. They were such naturals, Nancy singing silly songs, while Tom made faces that had Jamie giggling. A perfect family picture, except for the son who couldn't be bothered to come home to it. My phone buzzed. Ben. Meeting's running even later than expected. Don't wait up. Nancy caught my expression. Everything all right, dear? Fine, I said too quickly. Just Ben working late again. Tom's jaw tightened. That firm works him too hard. When I was on the force, at least I made it home for dinner most nights. Most nights, Nancy echoed, with a pointed look that suggested an old argument. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Emily, with Marcus Chen's contact information and 3 words that made my heart race. He's free tomorrow. Sarah? Nancy's hand touched my arm, making me jump. You seem distant lately. Is everything okay? With you and Ben? I looked into her concerned eyes, so like her son's, and felt the weight of secrets pressing down on me. How many family dinners like this had I sat through, playing the perfect daughter-in-law? How many more could I endure? Everything's fine, I lied, forcing a smile. Just tired. New mom stuff, you know? Nancy nodded, but her eyes stayed worried. As she and Tom gathered their things to leave, she hugged me tighter than usual. You know you can tell us anything, right? We're family. Family. The word echoed in my head as I watched them drive away. Behind me, Jamie started to fuss in his crib. Somewhere across town, Ben was with her. With R. Probably telling her the same lies he told me. I pulled out my phone and typed a response to Emily. Set up the meeting. Tomorrow. Marcus Chen's manila envelope sat unopened on my kitchen counter for 3 hours. Jamie was finally napping, the house quiet except for the hum of the dishwasher, and still I couldn't bring myself to look inside. The investigator's words echoed in my head. You might want to be sitting down for this one, Mrs. Mitchell. My phone buzzed. Ben. Running late again, don't wait up. That decided it. I ripped open the envelope, and photographs spilled across the granite countertop like accusations. Ben and a woman, tall, slim, red hair, entering a boutique hotel. Ben kissing her in a restaurant's dim corner. Ben helping her into his car. My car, the one I'd helped him pick out for his promotion last year. The timestamp on the last photo was yesterday. While I was feeding Jamie strained peas, while I was folding tiny onesies, while I was lying awake waiting for him to come home. My hands didn't shake as I picked up Chen's detailed report. Rachel Carter, 32, project manager at Ben's firm. Started there 6 months ago. The timeline made my stomach turn. Right when I was on bed rest, fighting to keep Jamie safe. The doorbell rang, startling me. Through the window, I saw Nancy's car in the driveway. Shit, I'd forgotten she was coming to help with Jamie. I swept the photos into the envelope, but missed one. It slid under the refrigerator as I rushed to answer the door. Sarah, dear. Nancy bustled in with a casserole dish. I brought that chicken thing you like. Are you all right? You look pale. Fine, I said automatically. Just tired. Jamie's been fussy. She set down the dish, mother's intuition clearly kicking in. Sarah! The baby monitor crackled with Jamie's first warning whimpers. Thank God for small mercies. I should get him, I said, turning toward the stairs. I'll warm up lunch while you do, Nancy offered, heading for the kitchen. My heart stopped. The envelope was still on the counter. Actually, I started, but Nancy was already there. I watched her freeze, staring at the manila envelope with Marcus Chen's name and confidential investigation stamped across it. Sarah? Her voice was different now. Careful. What's this? Jamie's cries grew louder upstairs. I stood frozen between two disasters, unsure which would hurt more. Nancy moved toward the refrigerator, probably to get butter for the casserole. Her foot caught something. The missing photograph, sliding out into plain view. The silence that followed was deafening. Oh, Ben, she whispered, picking up the photo. What have you done? Jamie's wails reached full volume. I started toward the stairs, but Nancy's hand caught my arm. Go get him, she said quietly. Then we're going to talk. When I came back down, Jamie hiccuping against my shoulder. Nancy had the envelope's contents spread across the counter. Her hands trembled as she shuffled through the evidence of her son's betrayal. Rachel Carter, she said, reading from Chen's report. I met her at the firm's Christmas party. She seemed... Nancy's voice broke. I thought she seemed nice. Nancy, Does Tom know? I shook my head. Good. She straightened her spine, teacher mode activating. He'd kill him. Actually kill him. She looked at Jamie, then back at me. What are you going to do? I don't know. But even as I said it, I realized it wasn't true. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I just didn't want to admit it to Ben's mother. Nancy must have seen something in my face, because she nodded slowly. Whatever it is, I'll support you. Tom will too. She gathered the photos, sliding them back into the envelope. But Sarah, make it count. My phone buzzed again. Ben. Dinner with clients. Don't expect me before midnight. Nancy read the message over my shoulder and made a sound I'd never heard from her before. Part laugh, part sob. Make it count, she repeated, harder this time. Make him regret every single lie. I looked at my mother-in-law, this woman who'd welcomed me into her family, who was now giving me permission to destroy her son's carefully constructed world. I will, I promised. And for the first time since finding that text, I smiled. Ben came home drunk that night, stumbling through our bedroom door at 2 a.m. I lay still, watching through half-closed eyes as he fumbled with his tie, reeking of whiskey and someone else's perfume. Sarah? He squinted at my seemingly sleeping form. You awake? I kept my breathing steady, even as my heart hammered against my ribs. On the nightstand, my phone silently recorded every sound, every movement. Emily's idea. Document everything, she'd said. Just in case. He collapsed onto the bed, still fully dressed. Within minutes, his phone buzzed. Even in his drunken state, he checked it immediately. The blue light illuminated his smile. That secret smile I used to think belonged to me. I waited until his breathing deepened into snores before sliding out of bed. His phone lay loose in his palm, screen dark but unlocked. Thank you, Whiskey. My hands didn't shake as I scrolled through his messages. Rachel's thread was deleted, of course, but he'd forgotten about his email. There it was, buried in his work account. Dinner reservations, hotel confirmations, plane tickets to Chicago next month. A romantic getaway disguised as a business trip. I forwarded everything to myself, then hesitated over a folder marked Properties. Inside were documents for a lease agreement, a downtown apartment signed 3 weeks ago. He was planning to leave. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. While I'd been plotting my revenge, he'd been plotting his escape. The apartment wasn't just for secret meetings. It was an exit strategy. Jamie's cry pierced the silence. Ben didn't stir, but I moved quickly, replacing the phone before heading to the nursery. Shh, baby, I whispered, lifting him from his crib. Mama's got you. In the pale nightlight, Jamie's features blurred between mine and Ben's. Would he grow up to have his father's smile? His talent for architecture? His capacity for betrayal? My phone buzzed. Nancy. I couldn't sleep, she texted. Tom's asking questions. He knows something's wrong. I typed back one-handed, Jamie snuffling against my shoulder. Ben signed a lease. He's planning to leave. Three dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, come over for breakfast tomorrow. Tom needs to know. Fear and anticipation twisted in my gut. Tom Mitchell didn't handle betrayal well. It's why he'd been such a good cop. Once he knew the truth about his son. Another text from Nancy. Bring everything you have. All of it. I looked down at Jamie, now sleeping peacefully, unaware that his world was about to implode. In the other room, Ben snored on, equally oblivious to the approaching storm. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Emily. Got the Chicago tickets. Want to know something interesting? Rachel booked a separate return flight, 3 days after Ben. The pieces clicked together. The apartment. The separate flights. The way Rachel had been seen leaving expensive boutiques, shopping for furniture instead of clothes. She wasn't just his mistress. She was going to be his new life. I settled Jamie back in his crib, my mind racing. Ben thought he had it all planned out. The perfect escape, the clean break. He probably thought he was being kind, sparing me the messy confrontation. Well, too bad. I returned to our bedroom, watching him sleep. This stranger who wore my husband's face. In the morning, he wouldn't remember unlocking his phone. Wouldn't remember giving me the final piece of evidence I needed. I'm going to destroy you, I whispered to his unconscious form. Not just for me, for Jamie, for your parents, for everyone you thought you could abandon without consequences. Ben stirred slightly, mumbling Rachel's name in his sleep. I smiled in the darkness, thinking of tomorrow's breakfast with his parents, of Tom's righteous anger and Nancy's quiet fury, of the carefully gathered evidence that would tear down Ben's perfect plan piece by piece. He thought he was writing the ending to our story. He had no idea I was about to rewrite it completely. Tom Mitchell's hands gripped his coffee mug so tightly I thought it might shatter. The evidence lay spread across his kitchen table. Photos, emails, lease documents, a paper trail of his son's betrayal. That apartment, Nancy said, her voice tight. It's in the same building where Tom's old partner lives. Dennis wouldn't have missed Ben coming and going, Tom growled. He sees everything in that place. I bounced Jamie gently, watching Tom's face darken as he studied the Chicago flight confirmations. 3 days, he muttered. She stays 3 extra days after Ben leaves. Business meetings, I quoted from the email chain. That's what Ben told his firm. The doorbell rang, making us all jump. Nancy peered through the curtains and went pale. It's Ben! My heart stopped. He never came here on Sunday mornings. Always claimed he needed to catch up on work. Sarah? Ben's voice carried through the door. Your car's here. Is everything okay? Tom started to rise, but Nancy gripped his arm. Not yet, she whispered. I handed Jamie to Nancy and moved to the door, opening it just enough to block his view of the kitchen. What are you doing here? I asked, proud of how steady my voice sounded. You weren't answering your phone. I was worried. He tried to peer past me. Is Jamie okay? He's fine. Your mother's watching him while I faltered, realizing I hadn't prepared a lie. While you what? His tone sharpened slightly. And why aren't you answering your phone? It's dead, I said quickly. I forgot my charger. Behind me, Jamie let out a happy squeal at the sound of his father's voice. Ben's face softened. Can I come in? Say hi to Mom? Before I could answer, Tom appeared behind me. Actually, son, we need to talk. Ben's expression flickered. Surprise, then something else. Fear? Dad, I've got a meeting. No, you don't. Tom's voice was deadly quiet. Rachel's out of town this weekend. Dennis saw her leave yesterday. The color drained from Ben's face. I don't. Tom stepped forward, and Ben actually backed up. Don't you dare lie to me. Not in my house, not to my face. Nancy appeared, still holding Jamie. Benjamin Mitchell, get in here right now. I'd never heard that tone from her before. Neither had Ben, apparently, because he obeyed automatically. The kitchen fell silent as Ben took in the evidence spread across the table. His hands trembled slightly as he picked up a photo of himself and Rachel. How long have you known? He asked me. Long enough. I watched him examine the lease agreement. Planning to tell me about the apartment? Or were you just going to disappear one day? It's not. He swallowed hard. It's complicated. Explain it then. Tom demanded. Explain how you could do this to your wife, your son. You don't understand, Ben snapped. None of you understand what it's like, feeling trapped, suffocating under everyone's expectations. Jamie started crying, the tension in the room finally getting to him. Ben reached for him instinctively, but Nancy turned away, shielding her grandson. Something broke in Ben's face then. Not guilt or shame, but anger. So that's it? You're all against me now? Taking her side? There aren't sides, Nancy said quietly. There's right and wrong, and this? She gestured at the evidence. This is wrong, Benjamin. The Chicago trip's canceled, I told him. I called your firm this morning. Told them you had a family emergency. You what? He stepped toward me, face flushing. You had no right. Tom moved between us so fast I barely saw him. Think very carefully about your next move, son. Ben looked from face to face, his father's fury, his mother's disappointment, my cold determination. Finally, his shoulders slumped. I need to go, he muttered, turning toward the door. Ben. My voice stopped him. When you get home tonight, we're going to talk. About everything, including custody arrangements. He flinched but didn't turn around. The front door slammed behind him. Nancy hugged Jamie closer, tears streaming down her face. Tom's hand found mine, squeezing gently. You did good, he said softly. Now comes the hard part. I nodded, watching through the window as Ben's car disappeared down the street. The hard part wasn't confronting him. It was deciding what kind of justice I wanted, what kind of revenge would hurt him most. And looking at Jamie's innocent face, I knew exactly what to do. Ben didn't come home that night. Or the next. By Wednesday, his side of the closet was empty, and his toothbrush had disappeared from our bathroom. No note, no explanation, just absence where my husband used to be. I sat at our kitchen table, Jamie asleep upstairs, staring at the divorce papers Emily had drafted. The house felt wrong, like a stage set where all the furniture had been shifted 2 inches to the left. My phone buzzed. A text from Nancy. He's at the apartment. Dennis saw him moving boxes in with her. Before I could respond, another message appeared. Unknown number. You really thought he'd choose you and the baby over me? How adorably naive. Rachel. My hands shook as I saved the number. This wasn't part of the plan. She wasn't supposed to know I knew, not yet. The doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Ben, looking exhausted and unshaven. When I opened the door, the smell of Rachel's perfume clung to his clothes. I need my passport, he said, not meeting my eyes. It's in the safe. Planning another trip? My voice sounded strange, even to me. Chicago's lovely this time of year. He flinched. Sarah, your father called the firm. I cut him off. Did you know that? 30 years on the force gives him some interesting connections. They're investigating the project funds you've been using for your little love nest. That got his attention. He had no right. Like you had no right to empty our savings account? His face went blank. He thought I hadn't noticed yet. Thought I wouldn't check until it was too late. That money was mostly mine, he said carefully. From the Anderson project. From the project you landed while I was on bed rest? While I was fighting to keep our son alive? The rage I'd been containing for weeks burst free. The project Rachel helped you get? It wasn't like that. He stepped toward me, hands raised placatingly. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I backed away from his reach. I understand that while I was choosing between paying for Jamie's medical bills and buying groceries, you were furnishing an apartment with my money. Our money, he corrected, anger finally seeping through his careful mask. And maybe if you hadn't been so focused on the baby. Don't! My voice could have frozen hell. Don't you dare make this about Jamie. Everything's about Jamie, he exploded. Every conversation, every decision, every dollar, it's all about the baby. When was the last time you even looked at me? When was the last time you were home to be looked at? The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Upstairs, Jamie started crying. I'll get the passport, I said quietly. Wait here. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step feeling like lead. In the nursery, Jamie's cries turned to hiccuping sobs as I lifted him from his crib. Shh, baby, I whispered, breathing in his sweet, powder-fresh scent. It's okay. We're okay. My phone buzzed again. Rachel. He's moving in permanently this weekend. Don't worry, I'll take good care of him. Something inside me snapped. I carried Jamie downstairs, where Ben was pacing impatiently. Here, I said, holding out our son. Hold him. Ben stepped back. Sarah, I don't have time. Hold, your son. Reluctantly, he took Jamie, who immediately started wailing louder. This is what you're walking away from, I said, watching him struggle to comfort the baby he barely knew anymore. Not me, not our marriage, him. Ha, I'm not walking away, Ben protested weakly. I'll pay support, I'll visit. Like your father visited his other family? He went white. How did you? Tom told me everything. About the sister you never knew, about how he chose to stay, to make it right. I took Jamie back, his cries instantly quieting. But you're not him, are you? You're not that strong. Sarah, please. The passport's in my lawyer's office, I said, turning away. Along with the evidence of your creative accounting. Your choice, Ben. Make it count. The door closed behind him, with a final sounding click. I held Jamie closer, feeling his tiny heart beat against mine, and waited for Ben's next move. But I already knew what it would be. Men like him always choose the easier path. I just hadn't expected it to hurt this much. Emily's text hit like a thunderbolt. Rachel's at the firm. She's telling everyone she's pregnant. I was already halfway to my car when Nancy called. Sarah, don't. Watch Jamie, I cut her off. I'll be back soon. The elevator ride to Ben's office felt endless. Each ping of passing floors echoed the pounding in my chest. When the doors opened, I heard Rachel's voice carrying across the open workspace. Of course we didn't plan it, she was saying to a cluster of wide-eyed colleagues. But Ben and I are so excited. She saw me before I saw her. The triumphant smile froze on her face. Sarah. Ben stepped between us, his voice low and urgent. This isn't the place. 3 months, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. That's how long you've been sleeping together, right? While I was on bed rest? Rachel's hand drifted to her stomach, a practiced, theatrical gesture. Ben, maybe we should. Interesting timing, I continued, pulling out my phone. Especially since you filled that birth control prescription 2 weeks ago. The office went dead silent. Rachel's face drained of color. What prescription? Ben turned to her, confusion breaking through his carefully maintained facade. The one she picked up at Wilson's pharmacy, I said, showing him the receipt on my phone. Tom's old partner works security there now. Funny how small this city is, isn't it? Rachel! Ben's voice cracked slightly. What is she talking about? Rachel's mask slipped, just for a moment. Fear flickered in her eyes before she rallied. It's not what you think. It's exactly what he thinks, I cut in. You're not pregnant. You never were. You just needed something to seal the deal, right? To make sure he wouldn't change his mind about leaving? Ben, she's lying. Rachel reached for him, but he stepped back. Baby, please. Don't call him that. My voice could have cut glass. You don't get to call him that. Like you have any right to him? Rachel snapped, composure finally shattering. You trapped him with that baby, made him feel guilty about everything he wanted. Wanted? I laughed, the sound harsh and foreign. You mean like the apartment he can't afford anymore? The firm's investigating the project funds, Rachel. How long before they find your fingerprints on those creative expense reports? Her face went from white to gray. Behind us, someone gasped. Ben looked like he might be sick. You wouldn't, Rachel whispered. I already did. I turned to Ben. Your father's friend at the SEC is very interested in those numbers. Apparently, misappropriating client funds is frowned upon. You're bluffing, Rachel said, but her voice shook. I pulled out another paper, a copy of the SEC preliminary investigation notice. Am I? Ben grabbed it, scanning quickly. Rachel, what did you do? What I had to. She was crying now, mascara running. You said you needed help getting away from her, that you felt trapped. I never said to steal. You didn't have to. I did it for us, for our future. There is no us. Ben's shout echoed across the suddenly empty office. There's no baby, no future, just lies. My God, what have I done? I watched him crumble. This man I'd loved. This stranger I'd married. Part of me wanted to comfort him, to say it would be okay. But I thought of Jamie, alone with his grandmother, while his father threw away everything for a woman who'd played him just as thoroughly as he'd played me. The divorce papers are still on the kitchen table, I said quietly. Sign them tonight, and I won't press charges for the money you took from our account. Sarah, please! He reached for me, but I stepped back. Tonight, Ben, or tomorrow I call the SEC myself. I turned and walked away, Rachel's sobs and Ben's broken silence, following me to the elevator. As the doors closed, I caught one last glimpse of them, two liars with nowhere left to hide. My phone buzzed. Nancy. Jamie's asking for Mama. I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in months. It was time to go home to my son. The signed divorce papers sat on Emily's desk like a fallen leaf, crisp, final, dead. She shuffled through them one last time, checking Ben's signatures. The SEC investigation is moving forward, she said, closing the folder. Rachel's already accepted a plea deal. She's testifying against the firm's leadership. And Ben? Suspended pending investigation. He'll probably avoid charges, but his career... She shrugged. Let's just say he won't be designing skyscrapers anytime soon. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt hollow, like someone had scooped out all my anger and left nothing in its place. My phone buzzed. Nancy, sending another photo of Jamie with his new tooth. She and Tom had become fixtures in our lives, as if trying to make up for their son's absence with doubled love. There's something else, Emily said, pulling out another document. Ben's requesting supervised visitation. The hollow feeling vanished, replaced by ice. No. Sarah, he abandoned us, stole from us. And he'll pay for that. Emily's voice was gentle. But he's still Jamie's father. The sunlight through her office window caught the edge of my wedding ring. Still there. Though I couldn't say why. Force of habit, maybe. Or a reminder of how easily truth could be twisted into lies. I need to show you something first, I said, pulling up the video on my phone. The security footage from Dennis's building played silently. Ben and Rachel arguing in the lobby, her throwing something at him. Keys, maybe, before storming out. The timestamp was 3 days after our confrontation. Where did you get this? Tom sent it. Said I should know what kind of man wants to be part of my son's life. Emily watched the rest. Ben slumping against the wall, head in his hands, then suddenly straightening as another woman entered. The same red hair as Rachel, but 20 years older. Her mother, I'd learned later. The conversation was silent but clear. Accusations, denials, finally a confession. Rachel had done this before, it turned out. 3 other men, 3 other false pregnancies. Her mother had come to warn Ben, too late to save his marriage, but just in time to save what remained of his career. Does he know you have this? Emily asked. I shook my head. I could use it against him in the custody hearing, prove he has bad judgment, prove he's unfit. But then I'd be just like them, using truth as a weapon, twisting it to hurt people. Emily smiled slightly. So what do you want to do? The answer came easier than I expected. I want to move forward, set conditions for the visitation, therapy, parenting classes, supervised visits until he proves himself. But I want Jamie to have the chance to know his father, the real one, not the liar or the victim. And Rachel? She'll face her own consequences. That's not my story anymore. Emily nodded, already drafting new papers. Outside her office, the city hummed with life. People hurrying to meetings, falling in love, telling lies, seeking redemption. Somewhere out there, Ben was probably sitting in his empty apartment, wondering how it all went so wrong. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Tom. Dinner tonight? Nancy's making that lasagna you love. I smiled, thinking of family dinners with new boundaries, new understanding. Thinking of Jamie growing up, surrounded by imperfect people, trying their best to be better. Sarah? Emily held out a pen. Ready to finish this? I slipped off my wedding ring, placing it carefully in my purse. Not as a keepsake, but as a reminder of how love could blind us, how truth could save us, and how sometimes the best revenge was simply living well. Yes, I said, taking the pen. I'm ready. The papers felt lighter than I expected. Each signature was a step forward, away from betrayal and towards something new. Not an ending exactly. More like a door opening to possibilities I hadn't known existed when I first found that text on Ben's phone. Jamie was waiting, and for the first time in months, so was I.